Let's get talking. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with your boy Carl E. Long. I am Carl E. Long, coming to you today with episode 45 of the podcast. Guys. Yes, this is what we're doing today. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, guys. Just a lot to talk about. And what is going on here is I have been watching Donald Trump and just kind of really trying to figure out who this guy really is, because it's baffling what we're going through as a country right now, because it's getting extremely scary, very scary. So one of the things I've always wanted to do was to watch that movie, the one that he didn't like, called The Apprentice, that came out in 2024. That came out. So I was trying to wait until it got to be free. It still wasn't free. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and rent it. It was only like $3.99 for 48 hours. So I went ahead and rented the movie. I rented the movie, and I just want to learn more about Donald Trump and what we're up against. Because based on what I saw in that one movie, guys, this is going to be something hard to crack. I don't think we're going to be able to get past what is happening right now. I just don't think we're going to be able to get over this, because the way this guy is moving and the way he's trained to move and what his agenda is, this is bigger than us. It is bigger than us. So I have just been looking, and then I looked at Abby Phillip, my favorite show on CNN, the Roundtable Show, and there was a discussion on being an autocracy. All right. So what is an autocracy as a country? An autocracy is a system of government in which one person holds absolute power and authority over the state without being constitutionally responsible to the people or bound by laws in the same way as in democratic systems. Now, here's some key points on being an autocracy. Power is centralized in a single leader, like a dictator, a monarch, or a ruler. The leader makes laws and decisions without needing approval from citizens, parliaments, or other governing bodies. Sound familiar so far? Citizens typically have little to no political freedom or ability to challenge the ruler's authority. And examples, past and present, include absolute monarchies, dictatorships, and some one-party states. In short, in an autocracy, one person rules with unchecked power. Now, y'all might think that's a little bit too far-fetched for Donald Trump, but I mean, he's checking all the buttons. He is checking all the buttons. So let's just do like a comparison of autocracy and a dictatorship and a monarchy. So an autocracy is a broad term is for any government where one person holds unlimited power. Can be a king, a dictator, an emperor, or even a modern strong leader. The key straight, the ruler's power is not meaningfully limited by laws, constitution, or the people. Donald Trump is challenging every law that we have, guys, every single one. A dictatorship is a type of autocracy where one person seizes and maintains power through force, manipulation, suppression, or opposition. The military. Citizens usually have no political freedoms, usually propaganda citizenship. An example of that person would have been like Adolf Hitler. He hates being compared to that. And then there's the monarchy, a government ruled by a king, queen, emperor, a similar hereditary ruler. There's an absolute monarchy, an autocracy. The monarch has unlimited power. And then there's the constitutional, where the monarchs are limited by law and real authority rests with elected officials. That's like the United Kingdom has, the prime minister. So they're like that kind. So we have this kind of thing that is going on in our country. and nobody wants to really talk about it. And all the Republicans are saying he's just going there doing what the people want. Is he? Is he really doing what the people want? This is getting extremely scary, guys. So I want you to listen to this exchange on Abby Phillips' show with S.C. Cupp. She's a strategist. She says she's more of a journalist, but let's just listen to what she says when she's posed with a question from Abby Phillips. Here we go.
Been at this level. If this is a 10, they've been at a 10 for a while now. But there are some people, and I think one of them is the person that Ezra Klein was talking to in that podcast, Radley Balco, and even President Obama, who have been kind of reluctant to go there. But they're going there now. I mean, do you see that shift happening?
Definitely. It's definitely happening. You see complete moral collapse of the United States government. The cabinet meeting with 3.5 hours of superficial praise is so cringeworthy. He's attacking the Fed. He's attacking all of our institutions. He's eliminating FEMA. It is horrifying that he is putting troops against American citizens because he claims that he's the law and order president. But we all know that's a lie because he's a convicted felon. He pardons convicted felons. He surrounds himself with obsequious people that kiss his ass all day, every day. It's nauseating and painful to see how weak he is to Vladimir Putin and others.
I mean, what do you think about all of this? I mean, a lot of people say that alarmism doesn't help Democrats, but there are also things happening that Trump is doing that are alarming even conservatives.
Well, alarmism alone doesn't do anything, and I think Democrats have gotten very good at correctly identifying the problem, naming the problem, whether it's fascism or authoritarianism. This is all true.
Do you think that's an accurate description of what is happening right now?
Absolutely, without question. We've had many conversations at this table. Bill Maher ticked down some examples. But so what? And what? And what next? The conversations I don't hear Democrats having is what we're going to do about it. It can't just be Gavin Newsom tweeting like the president does. That's not it. It can't be sit-ins and protests. If Democrats want to combat this and get a chance at another election, and I understand where Bill Maher is going with this, that like elections might not happen in future years if this continues. They've got to win. They've got to win elections. And no one in the party, and I talk to Democrats all day long, no one is talking about where's our agenda? Where's our New Deal, our contract with America? What's our platform to identify and solve the problems that Americans are screaming they have? Only Trump is saying, here's my answer for them. We don't like the answers, but he's answering them. Democrats aren't even asking the question. They're just naming the problem over and over again in an echo chamber.
You can make an argument that naming the problem is not an unreasonable thing to do because there are some people who are, I think the analogy is like a frog boiling slowly in water, that you don't really notice what's happening until it's...
Oh, we all notice it. Who's not noticing it?
Well, everyone notices it. A couple people at the table here probably disagree, so we'll
But I'm not talking to them, I'm talking to Democrats.
We'll
they
get
all
their
notice
views in just a second, but go ahead, Dante.
Democrats is, how do you attack it? Because Donald Trump does not operate politically. He does not operate within the structure of our government as it was put together and as it functioned for hundreds of years. He operates outside of that.
But are there other options than attacking Donald Trump?
Not be political, to step aside and say, I'm going to ignore the rule of law. I'm going to tell people if a judge rules against me, that judge is a bad person and not to listen to him. I don't know if we want Democrats to join in that fight, but there has to be a way to combat it.
No one's saying that, but for 3 election cycles, the Democratic plan seems to have been let Trump hang himself and go after Trump. This isn't about Trump. The voters need to be talked to in ways that aren't Democrats sneering at them, saying, you're safe, look at this graph. The economy's great, look at these numbers.
That may be
but that's exactly what Democrats are doing. They're doing it with illegal immigrants, they're doing it with crime, and they're doing it with the government. You said it's the way government functions. A supermajority of the American people say government is dysfunctional. They don't trust government. Go back to the Ike LBJ days, and trust in government was in the 70s. Today, it's in the 30s. The low water mark, and I think it's delicious that Barack Obama is weighing in, the low water mark during the era was 10% when Barack Obama was president. Only 10% of Americans trusted government. That's what propelled Donald Trump into the White House. He's being responsive to the problems that Americans are
But you
facing.
can't trust government.
And he's enforcing the laws that are on the books.
We can talk
Putting
about those
troops in
numbers.
Washington is the law.
You can't
He has
trust
the right to
government
do
when they
that.
call in Republican leaders from Indiana and say, hey, you have to figure out a way to redistrict so that we can get more seats. That's not how
And
government
is
is supposed to
100%
work.
legal in the state of Indiana. You can do that. There's no prohibition. Now, whether they will do it or not,
I think this
don't
is
know.
hold on.
Don't you
This
think
is
that
actually
erodes trust in government?
this is a very key point that you just brought up. I mean, whether it's Indiana or anything else that Trump is doing, DC, lots of things are permissible. But many presidents, many political figures before Trump did not do them because in this country, you have choices here, right? There are laws on the books that allow you to do certain things, and many politicians say, we're not going to go there because, let's say, hypothetically, that's reserved for extreme circumstances. I think what people are responding to right now is Trump looking at all those things and saying, I'm going to do what, as he said, whatever I want, if there's any inkling of a chance that I have the power to do it.
Well, he is exercising political power, and as Pete pointed out about the redistricting, it is legal to do. I think the National Guard in Washington, D.C. not only is legal, but I think even the mayor of Washington, D.C. this week has said, hey, it seems to be working. So I think the alarmism from Trump's biggest detractors is the same kind of rhetoric and alarmism that they were sounding back in September and October during the election. And how did the American people respond to it then? They voted for Donald Trump. The way you solve all problems in a political system is you go out and try to win an election.
Yeah.
But you can't do redistricting and changing the rules so that
sure you can.
the votes
He doesn't
don't-
want to run
Sure you
another
can.
election.
Democrats did not win the last election for a reason. They may not win the next one for a reason. And so in a political system, you have to trust the voters. The voters elected Donald Trump. He's basically running the play that he laid out. And yes, I understand the whining and alarmism now, but the way you solve all your problems in politics is to convince people that you are right and they are wrong, and you do it at the ballot box.
So what do you think about that conversation? What do you think about that conversation? So here we are at a table, and we've got S.E. Cupp, journalist, very well centrist. She's more of a centrist. She doesn't say she's Republican. She doesn't say she's Democrat. But she's sitting there sneering at Democrats as to what we're not doing. Then tell us, what do we do, S.E. Cupp? You can always point out everything they're not doing, but what would be the solution? I mean, you're the journalist that writes these stories. You're somewhat of a strategist. What does one do when you're working with someone who is not following the rule of law? We normally fight him with laws, but they don't matter. We are getting to a point now where it could get very, very crazy. And like Scott Jennings said, you go out and you win elections, but based on what I'm hearing about the 2024 election and what could possibly happen, I'm afraid. I mean, there's a possibility that the 2024 election was compromised. And we're waiting for a ruling out of Rockville, New York, to find out if that really happened. Because there was a federal judge that sent one of those cases to court. So, is elections the way to do this now? What do we do? I personally like what Gavin Newsom is doing, fighting Trump with his own stuff. And hearing him come back and denounce stuff that he did. I was like, it's the same thing that you did, dear Donald. I'm loving Gavin Newsom and what he's doing. Everybody thinks that's funny. So how do you fight them? How do we as Democrats fight this engine? Y'all say at the ballot box, I don't trust that anymore now. I just don't. How can you trust anything with the government with the way things are going? With the way things are going, how do we trust the government anymore? I'm afraid. So I went ahead and watched that movie, The Apprentice. Yes, I did. So I'm going to be reviewing The Apprentice. It's a movie directed by Ali Abbasi. This film takes us into Donald Trump's early years and his toxic mentorship under Roy Cohn. It's not just a political biopic, it's